Carmel High School Television, CHTV. CHTV is Carmel High School's television station. They broadcast their newscast live every goal day during the beginning of the second period. Over the years, CHTV has produced many hours of content. But other than that, how much do we really know about CHTV? My name is Jack Ringenberg, and I am one of CHTV's editing managers. I've been a part of CHTV since my freshman year. During my time at CHTV, I've done a lot of huge projects. I have created 2 educational tech series, I've done several videos for the school, and I have hosted my own talk show. But despite all my experience with CHTV, I'm still unable to answer the basic questions about it. When it comes to CHTV, it feels like there are more questions than answers. For example, when was CHTV established? Why was CHTV started? What did CHTV look like when it first started? With all my experience, I've decided to try to find all of the answers because I knew if I didn't, no one else would.
Good evening, this is Annie Harrison with your 5 o'clock information update.
Becca Townsend with your 5 o'clock news report.
I'm Mackenzie Hart alongside Alexis Cutler.
I'm Allison Kylie.
This is Connor McGinn.
With Mel.
I'm John Perkins.
I am Stephen Albritton.
Adrian Thomas.
I am Jackson Year.
Hi, I'm Ellie Goldstein.
Matthew Plotchik.
Good morning and welcome to the CHTV Principal Show. My name is JD Arlen.
Welcome to the first episode of the new ESC show.
This show is Talks with Tom, the Principal Show, where I will be interviewing your new principal, Dr. Harmis.
Hello CHS and welcome to CHTV's very first E-show.
To try to get some answers, I ventured over to what used to be CHTV's internet lab. Here I connected to the internet and found some information, but it all conflicted with each other. So I decided to go to the hallways of Carmel and see if any students knew anything about the history of CHTV that I didn't already know.
So what do you know about the history of CHTV?
I don't know much about the history. I know that it came when I've been here, and I've been here for 22 years, so.
What do you know about the history of CHTV or just CHTV in general?
I don't really know much, sorry.
It's run by kids.
It plays every SRT. That's about it.
I know it couldn't have been made before the first TV came out. And also that it's not as old as WHJ.
I know that Miss O is a great teacher and I'm her favorite student, and I think that kind of correlates with the whole history because it changes everything.
I know that CHTV kind of started out as a more smaller program than Miss Ostojic and many other there was a lot contributed to it to be able to be as big as it is now with all the cameras that they have in there in the studio.
Yeah. The only thing I know is that a long time ago maybe CHTV was better than radio, but for now and for a while radio has been better.
The students I talked to seemed to not know anything that I didn't already know. So I took a trip down to the yearbook archives. Going into the archives, my goal was simple. I wanted to find out what year CHTV was started in. I looked through yearbook after yearbook after yearbook after yearbook after yearbook. I couldn't find CHTV club photos in any of them. But then, in 1978, in the staff member section of the yearbook, references to broadcasting and TV started to appear. One name that stood out was the name Espey. His job was listed with the simple word, TV. When was CHTV started and how were you chosen to teach it?
Well, I can give you a little bit of history on how the program got started. The radio station went on the air in 1963, and so that program had been going for quite a while. Prior to me when I arrived at Carmel High School, the year before, Carmel High School won the state boys basketball championship.
It's the glass, it does not bank in, and it's all over as the ball hits the hardwoods, and the Carmel Greyhounds are state champions as we look at the happy champions and part of the crowd that is erupted on the basketball court.
Which was a big deal because it was one class. That means you were the top dog, one school in the whole state.
Although East Chicago, Washington put on tremendous pressure in the dying moments of the game, losing it to Carmel 53-52.
And that was 1976-1977 school year. I started the next year, the school year of 1977-78, and this building had just opened up, but the radio station wasn't here yet. It was still in the other building, and so these were basically empty rooms. It's the same configuration, everything. So I had also a degree in library science, and they brought me in to be the AV director for 1 year for the school. So I was like handling film strip projectors, and people in their classrooms they didn't have video as much available. So what they had is, if you wanted to show your students a film, it was a film. It was big reels of film that you threaded through a projector. Anyway, so I did that for a year, and during that year, I planned this as far as the equipment and the curriculum and all that. So the following year, all this stuff became active. The radio station, and moved from there to over here, but it was new equipment, and this got set up here. So that's kind of when it started. And so we had classes that first year, that was actually my second year of teaching, because the first year was just organizing equipment and writing curriculum, that kind of things, textbooks, whatever.
So when did the first broadcast actually happen?
Well, I don't know exactly. Is probably another year or two after that, because what happened, two things. The announcement thing was strictly PA, had been for years, and there was a guy who was a principal here called Dale Graham. You know, if you know of the auditorium is, that guy. And he gave the announcements and over the PA, and so we eventually but I don't know the exact year, but we eventually transitioned to doing the video announcements as you're doing them, but it was just inside the school. Eventually, there was if you lived at home, you had probably cable television, but there was no internet at the time, and so the only way to get out of Carmel High School to the community was through cable television, and there wasn't a line available from here to the rest of the system in Carmel at that time. So I lobbied the guys who ran the cable company, And they consented, but what they did is one guy dropped off a big reel of cable and he showed me the pole where it needs to connect. So my students and myself literally ran that cable to get us out to the community. We dug a ditch out here to a telephone pole where it was going to be connected. And there was conduit underneath the driveway at that time, or underneath the road. And we were able to string it through there. We got it hooked up, and we were finally connected to the rest of the community, as long as they had cable television. Now, if they didn't that, so that was kind of a big feat. But you know, but we had to actually do the connection at the time, so it was kind of nutty, but it worked. And from that point on, then. Our audience grew because we had a really good channel selection. It was channel 21, and I've got some shirts with channel 21 still. There weren't as many channels, so people channel surfed, and by that I mean they just took their remote and they kind of went up and down the channels and looked for something to watch. So we were right next to, I can't remember, NBC affiliate or whatever. So we got a lot of people watching our programs just because of our channel location on cable. And so that, you know, it was pretty cool in that regard, because especially sports production, people really, you know, watched our games and all that. So.
That's really cool. What was one of your favorite memories from CHTV, like when you taught here?
Well, we put a lot of time and effort into live sports productions. So when one of those would get done really well, and by that I mean, let's just take football, we had announcers that were in suits up there in the top of the press box. We were shooting with 2 or 3 cameras up there, and we had a field camera, we had field reporters, had wireless mics that we were using at the time, we had slow motion instant replay, and we had graphics. So we were very proud of our sports productions. We did the same thing for basketball, and that it was not a single camera, pan back and forth type of thing. So it was pretty sophisticated for its time, and so that gave me a lot of pride that my students could do that.
So back in the day, did you have like an archive of your like newscasts or games or anything? Like, did you burn them to DVDs or anything like that?
I'll just tell you, one of the disappointing things is that when I left here, there were stacks and stacks and stacks of VHS tapes of all kinds of historic things from Carmel High School. And there were several instructors that between Brandy and myself. And I think they had no nostalgic or historical interest. So I think a lot of that stuff that's irreplaceable ended up in a dumpster probably. And so, you know, it was in the way. And so what are these old tapes and DVDs, and what value are they? And if they had that attitude, it probably didn't help that much right there, you know, in what they were doing that day. But I think, you know, I kind of pointed all that stuff out, and I think like this room had tons of stuff in it, but it, you know, it's kind of like your storage closet at home or something. You say, what? You know, we don't need this or that, and that was our attitude.
So it turns out that CHTV already had its own archives, but they were destroyed. Maybe an alumni would know where I could find footage.
So, Mrs. Ostojic, do you know if there's any way I could track down some old CHTV alumni?
I do know a few people who used to be a part of CHTV. One of them is BJ Ardaiolo. I worked with him at Fox 59. He's won 2 Emmys. And then there's Jamie Suter, who's won even more Emmys. But I can put you in touch with both of them.
Jamie Suter. I'm really just a senior photographer. I don't know, special projects.
Yeah.
BJ Ardaiolo, morning show videographer.
And you had Mr. Espey as a teacher, right?
We did.
What were some memories with him that you really remember?
Ooh. Is he going to see this? No.
I'm just. Do you remember we did that thing where they put? This sounds so simple, probably to you, but they put we had to cut out pictures, stack them, and then they play a song, and you had 2 cameras, and then you switched from one side to the other. And when they're on that side, you pulled the picture out and changed it. So and that's how we made a video. That's how archaic it was.
We didn't have any editing. And I remember my song was you wouldn't know who they are, but Pat Benatar, hit me with your best shot. Back in the day, we used to get magazines like Sports Illustrated, so I cut out all the boxing and football hits, and that was my music video. And we'd have to direct the cameras and people to push in, and it was awesome. I remember that. That was like our very first project.
I mean, we're the only TV station in the whole. Was it us in Jane County or?
Yeah.
There was 2 TV stations in high schools.
Yeah.
In the whole state at that time.
Was that other TV station actually on the air? Because I know CHTV was actually on cable television.
I don't think they were.
But there was competitions that we would go to for, and it'd be us against them.
Our goal when we first went on was to have a continuous programming. So what we would do is we had a news crawl, a character generator, and we put community announcements on that. And then we would have the announcements in here, and that would go live to the rest to the community as well as in here. Are these viewable?
These are viewable in Carmel High School. I think we used to do outside of Carmel High School like cable, but I think we got rid of that.
I think you probably did too.
Yeah.
So that was very burdensome from the standpoint that about 3 o'clock, then 3 or 4 o'clock to maybe 10 or 11 o'clock, all through the what we call prime time. That rack in there was full of VHS tape recorders, and so that all had to be programmed. And now there was it would fire those tape decks up, and we would be playing programs that we produced here in the studio. We did a huge amount of event coverage, and so we would play all those things back. They would repeat, etc. And so our goal was to try. When we talked about a station, we were trying to model it after a regular television station where you had something on the air all the time, much like the radio station. So it was a little bit different concept at that point.
When you joined CHTV, it was a pretty new class. What made you want to join it?
That's a good question. I thought it was going to be easy. Sorry, Hal. And it was. I mean, it was a natural for me. I mean, it was fun. We're creating something that we didn't really put it on throughout the school like you guys do. It was right. It went right to the cable access channel, and it was like, as Channel 2 was just floating messages, and then here comes our little newscast. If we did, or some story we did, it would roll in, and it was kind of fun.
Parents would watch it, they get excited. Then it was so bad that they would. We just rolled every day. And if we made mistakes, laughed, whatever, as long as nobody cussed on the air, they would let it roll. I don't know if Hal said that, but
no.
I mean, it was raw, but we did learn a lot. And I really got into it because for me, I took art classes and radio was all right. I didn't like that as much. I wanted to be behind the scenes. Radio, you're there, you're on the mic, all that stuff. But fun, right? I thought it'd be fun.
It was.
Mr. Ardaiolo, I saw on your LinkedIn page that you were an editor for The Joy of Painting. How did you get that job?
That was right out of college. Started working for WIPB and worked on Bob Ross's show for 3 years. I was many times I was that cameraman where he'd wipe his brush and I'd be covered with paint. It's again one of the great things that blessings I've had is to work with such a pop icon as Bob. I mean, at the time we didn't know what we were doing. I mean, we were just painting happy little trees in 28 minutes, and he became this global icon, and it's very cool.
Yeah. Were any archives of your shows kept during the time that you two were there, or do you have any?
I don't know whether they were kept. Did Mr. Espey say anything about?
Well, he said that they had a lot, but then whoever the next teacher was got rid of them.
I'm sure. Yeah, on that old VHS they're dust now by now.
They saved every show probably, but I wonder if there's anybody on that was on that. You could put something out on Facebook or something and see if anybody somehow saved it and then bumped it up to a. It'd be good. It'd be so cool if there's one show out there of
oh my goodness
performance.
Yeah.
I don't have anything.
Okay. Do you have anything?
No. The only thing I have is a yearbook from what I remember. I wish I had those videos, but we had to turn them into Hal and get our grade.
I feel like I've learned enough about the early days of CHTV, but I wonder what the early 2000s at CHTV were like. To answer that question, I reached out to WLWT5 news anchor and CHTV alumni Stephen Albritton.
Stephen Albritton, and currently I'm a morning anchor at WLWT News 5 in Cincinnati, Ohio.
And what made you want to take CHTV as a class?
Well, I had always had a thought that I wanted to be on TV in some way, sports in particular back then. And, we are very blessed at Carmel High School to have a lot of things at our fingertips. And when you walk in there, when you go on your junior high tour of the high school and you see they have we have cameras, we have a couch, TVs, lights, a whole control room. We have a spot to edit. Why wouldn't I get involved with these classes, at a young age to see if it's something I really want to do. So it's a very cool elective to have, and I learned a lot from being in it early on.
IASB is the Indiana Association of School Broadcasters. It's an extremely competitive television and radio conference for high school and college students in Indiana. To even place at IASB is a huge accomplishment.
So I saw that in 2004, you won IASB's Best Sports Play-by-Play. What was that experience like?
It was really cool. Myself and my partner, Matt Burrows, we did color and play-by-play for all the basketball games for, was it sophomore, junior, and senior year? Or maybe just junior and senior year. But it was really cool to be recognized at a state level across all high schools to win that award. But, I give credit to Mr. Espey for putting us in that position. I give credit to him for making sure we have cameras set up, because he used to shoot all the games and put them on CHTV and, would try to get as many students involved as possible. And we actually had a very good crew come through that was dedicated to putting on good broadcasts. And we were also very lucky to have Josh McRoberts, CHS Hall of Famer, Duke basketball alum, played the NBA for a number of years on the team, which helped a little bit. I'm not going to lie. The product on the court helped a little bit. But it was cool to see your work recognized like that, and it really made an imprint on me that I chose kind of the right career path at an early age to continue to pursue.
Yeah, and how has CHTV changed since you were a part of it?
Oh my gosh, it's a completely different operation than when I was there. In that time, 2001 to 2005, you had a big transition in media from the linear type of editing where you'd have to edit, one piece and the next piece to Final Cut Pro came out, and that's what they're editing movies on. But we were lucky enough to have one copy of that and learn how to use non-linear editing software. So just in that time, CHTV has changed from not being an HD, having one Final Cut computer until I came back to class last year, and you guys have a whole editing suite with 15, 20 computers in it. The whole studio has been overhauled. The whole behind the scenes has been overhauled. You have so many students doing so many different things who can pick up this, and edit an entire package or a documentary where these weren't around back when I was in school. So it's just so cool to see all the students have so many options at their fingertips to use the creative suite of Adobe products to use in their stories or their documentaries. And we were just kind of guessing along the way, and Mr. Espey and all of us were just trying to keep up with the ever-changing times in the moment.
Mm-hmm. And what was one of your favorite memories from CHTV?
The League of Extraordinary Sports Analysts.
The League of Extraordinary Sports Analysts.
That was our sports show that we did my senior year. That was always fun because I had my best friends next to me doing the sports show. We did some workout tapes as well. Don't know where those are these days, but they were fun to do. And it's just a camaraderie and knowing that I had, chosen the right path. And Mr. Espey was a big part of showing us, this, if you dedicate yourself to this, if you put the work in here at CHTV, I went to Ball State University ready to go. First day on campus, I could pick up a camera. I could, attempt editing. I could sit in front of the camera and do what I do now. And it all started back at CHTV.
In 2011, the school corporation had an incentive plan in place to get teachers to retire at the age of 60. One of the plan's benefits was the school corporation would pay for healthcare for you and your family until age 65. As a result of this incentive plan, Hal Espey retired in 2011. I feel like I know a lot more about the Espey era of CHTV now. But what was CHTV like post-Espey? To answer that question, I had to do some digging to find the next CHTV advisor, Ernest. I tried to reach out to her, but she did not respond. This left me crestfallen, but I knew that I needed to still somehow figure out what CHTV was like post-Espey. To get some ideas, I decided to watch some old CHTV videos from their old CHTV 99 YouTube channel, which is still available if you would like to subscribe to it. As I fell down the rabbit hole of old CHTV content, I stumbled upon my favorite CHTV video ever, how to navigate CHTV. Then it occurred to me, the person in the video was a senior when the video was made. That would mean he would have had Mr. Espey and Mrs. Earnest. He would have all the answers I needed. I reached out and asked if he would be interested in talking to me about his time in the program, and he said he would love to. That person was Brad Davis, the current news director for the radio station 107.3 QMix.
He's late. That's not a good sign.
Well, Brad Davis was no help. The only other person that I know that was at CHTV during the 2010s was Mrs. Ramos, head of the communications department. Hopefully she can answer my increasingly burning questions about CHTV's history.
I am Terri Ramos, and I'm the department chair for media and communications. I've been here almost 10 years now.
And when you first came to Carmel and like the Greyhound Media Network, what was like the state of CHTV?
It was doing well. We had a teacher who had been with us in that role for about 3 years, and she was actually from the industry.
That teacher that came from the industry was the previously mentioned Ernest. Prior to coming to Carmel High School, she worked as a production intern at WFYI. In August of 2009, she came to Carmel High School where she was their media technology manager. Then, at the beginning of the 2011 to 2012 school year, she moved from the media center to the CHTV studio where she became the new advisor for CHTV.
She was actually leaving when I was coming in. She was going back to the industry. She had decided to do that. So I needed to very quickly find a new person. So that was my very one of my very first emails, find a new TV teacher. Okay.
Was that kind of like stressful?
It was very stressful because I mean, it was late. It was August, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I mean, it was, yeah, I mean, maybe July. I don't know. It was really toward the end of summer.
So then how did that CHTV teacher that you had to quickly find end up doing in their role as the new advisor for the program?
She did great. Her name was Courtney, and she was with us for a year. She had a drama background, so her strengths really lied in the storytelling aspects and those kinds of things, but she quickly came up to speed on the technology.
The CHTV morning announcements have taken off this year under the new leadership of Courtney Qualls. The announcements have added news segments, sports recaps, and of course, A Minute with Mal, CHTV's own entertainment segment. CHTV has incorporated the use of newfound technologies for the morning announcements, including closed captioning and also green screen use with virtual backgrounds.
In 2014, under the leadership of Courtney Qualls, CHTV accomplished a feat that they had never accomplished before. They won IASB's 2014 Television School of the Year. This meant out of all the high school television stations in Indiana, CHTV was the best of the best. Well, now that I've learned about the Earnest and Qualls era of CHTV, I want to know more about the next teacher of the class, Miss Kaiser.
When Miss Kaiser came in, her strengths, she came from the English department. She was an English teacher. And, but she had actually had journalism, and she had actually student taught, I think, with our yearbook teacher at the time, Nicole Lowry, as I recall. Hope I'm remembering that all the right way. But so she was already very familiar with the teachers in our department, and she brought a lot of organization. Her strengths lie in, she would make graphic organizers for students to keep them on top of their research, their prep, everything that they needed to do in order to be a journalist. She was very strong with preparing kids on how to speak and voice modulation and all of those kinds of things. So it was an exciting time.
So when did she leave CHTV?
She was with us for 3 years. So then when she left us, it was Eric Marty who came in.
To learn more about Mr. Marty, I knew exactly who to talk to. One of the executive producers of the hit CHTV series, Jacob Tries, Elyse Timpe.
So, my name is Elyse Timpe. I am currently a sophomore here at Ball State studying digital sports production, and I also work for our football team as their video team. I don't really know what I'm going to do there. I just got the job. And then I also work for our broadcast team, which is called Chirp Vision, and I basically just broadcast all Ball State sports.
And so you had several teachers, obviously, over your time in the program. And what was that kind of like, and how did each teacher have their own different style of teaching the program?
So Miss Kaiser, we've kind of determined she was very a safe teacher. She knew what she was doing, and we just kind of stayed there. And she was the reason I was like, okay, I want to keep doing this. I want to continue in CHTV at least for next year. Eric Marty just gave me an off year, whatever. It was kind of a rust year. I loved it because I got to spend time with my friends. We kind of started live shows, but it wasn't anything too much. And then Brandy really was just about pushing the program forward. We were constantly getting new equipment, constantly fighting with all different kinds of admin because she wanted to improve the program. And we knew we had the money and we knew we could do it. And so she was all about the growth, and it's just so cool watching the program from where it was in 2017 to now.
What was the transition from Miss Kaiser to Mr. Marty like?
It's great. Miss Kaiser was really great. She was the reason I stayed in CHTV. Mr. Marty was the reason I decided to switch to yearbook for 2 weeks before coming back to the CHTV.
What was Mr. Marty like as a teacher?
Mr. Marty was a great guy. Not the best teacher. Me and my friends got really close during that time because we would just go around the school filming whatever we wanted. So I believe during that time we did film a tour of CHTV. We filmed the Vans Challenge back when it was really big. Oh. We had a fake fight in the Commons. Those are some of my highlights that I remember filming with Mr. Marty.
What was your favorite memory of CHTV?
freshman year when we had a ginger rap battle. So it was the Eric Marty era, and let's just say he was not there. It was Drew Miller and Gingy. We dropped some music and they started rapping, and it was like towards maybe the end of the year.
TV 1-2 with Mr. Marty. We would do just a ton of cahoots every class, and I would win all of them. And he still owes me a Kit Kat bar from winning them because he asked me what my favorite candy was, and I told him Kit Kat at the time. It's not my favorite candy, and he never got it for me. So there's that.
And gosh, my favorite memory of CHTV has to be the countless Quizlets we did in freshman year with Mr. Marty. What's his name? Marty.
Mr. Marty.
Marty. Oh,
Mr. Marty.
Mr. Marty.
And Mr. Marty was with us for a year.
And then after Mr. Marty was Mrs. Ostojic, right?
Yep, that's
okay.
correct.
Awesome.
My name is Brandy Ostojic, and I am the TV advisor and teacher. Prior to CHTV, I did have some TV experience. I worked as a executive producer for CBS 4 and also worked for nearly 20 years in the television industry in various capacities.
So when you first came to the program, you'd come off the tail end of someone who had just been teaching there for like 1 year, Mr. Marty. And so what was that kind of like?
When I first came here, I was kind of bombarded by students asking, like, what do you know about TV? And the students were very excited that I had a little bit more of a background maybe than previous teachers. So it was just a little bit, crazy, as you can imagine, someone teaching 1 year and, everything's not super organized. So it was just kind of, that first year is just like figuring out exactly what we have and what's happening and all of that. So it was a little bit crazy.
What was the transition from Mr. Marty to Mrs. Ostojic like?
So I technically wasn't in CHTV for like the first 2 weeks because I left TV to go to yearbook because I wanted the yearbook teacher and I didn't want the TV teacher. But then the yearbook teacher left and we got a new TV teacher, so I just swapped back within 2 weeks. The transition back was great. Brandy let me in. I just had to send her an email like, let me in, please. Sent Ramos an email, let me in, please. And right off the bat, she was very nice, very excited to have me back on staff. And I basically immediately put my head down and got to work because I'm much more of a TV person.
And what was Mrs. Ostojic like as a teacher, in your opinion?
She would constantly push me to be my best. She would let Jacob and I kind of do whatever we wanted, have the freedom we wanted to make whatever video we wanted, and we had some really crazy ideas, but no matter what, she'd like help us through it. She never really said no. She also always gave really positive feedback, but also like really good constructive criticism. So we always knew how to improve each video, and even now we still talk to her probably on a weekly basis, to the point she's probably annoyed with us.
So your first 3 years of teaching were like the COVID crazy years.
Yeah.
What was that experience like, and how did it make you a better teacher?
The COVID years, so my very first year teaching is when in March 13th of 2020, they sent us all home. So I guess I didn't really know any differently at that point. I didn't know how crazy an end of a year is. Just like everyone else, we're just like, okay, we're just gonna do what we gotta do. And then that second year, I would say, so our hybrid year, I would say that was definitely the hardest year I've had teaching, thus even harder than the first year when I literally had no clue what I was doing. It was just real, so many rules and regulations, and it was so hard to get kids interested when you would have sometimes 4 people in class. So that was definitely a tough year. But, last year and this year, we've kind of, I think, caught our stride, and I think we're moving in the right direction.
And so Elyse mentioned that something you do differently than other CHTV teachers is you don't necessarily take no for an answer, and you're willing to like fight administration, so to speak, like for what you want. How do you think this characteristic has helped improve the program?
Oh, wow. Well, I guess that characteristic kind of comes from my news background where, if you want to tell the news, you don't let people say no to you. It's your job and your mission as a journalist to report what people need to hear. And, You know, in my opinion, I don't think we're asking for outrageous requests. I just think that it's our job to educate maybe administration as to what we need to do our jobs that they expect us to do. It's not just using phones for everything, as some may think, you know, oh, you have a camera on your phone. So it's just, I think, more educating and hopefully making them see it our way. Yeah. And if they don't, then we come up with a plan B and we figure it out.
What real world experiences do you feel like CHTV helps teach kids?
We run CHTV similar to a newsroom, which is obviously real world. You know, people have air dates, not necessarily due dates. And if they miss their air date, they miss their air date. You know, you can't make up shows. So I think that, you know, collaboration, you work with dozens of people to get a show on air. No one can do a show by themselves. It's literally impossible. So that's a big thing. Teamwork, helping each other and not tearing each other down. Again, a big thing is you're always going to be working with people different from you for the rest of your life. So figure out a way to do it in a nice way.
Yeah. And in your opinion, what has been CHTV's greatest challenge in the past 4 years?
I think CHTV's biggest challenge the last 4 years has definitely been just finding our footprint, finding our voice. We were very scattered when we first started. Everyone's doing 50 different things. No one's working together. So I feel like at this point, we've got teams in place, students in place who have a vision for our future. And now we have goals and we're working toward that instead of just like, we just need to like figure stuff out. Now I feel like we figured it out and now we can move forward. So I think that our biggest challenge has just been like figuring it out.
So how has CHTV like changed over the years since you've been here, or just like in general?
Well, we're growing again. I think it's been a very difficult tenure period, if you will, just because we've had some changes in leadership. The teacher for a program like this is critical to its success because students rely on that constant presence in their lives. And so when we had some switching, you know, there at the very beginning and then after Miss Kaiser, those were difficult times. But under Miss Kaiser and then now under Mrs. Ostojic, because we've had that longer time period, even with COVID with Mrs. O, the program is thriving again. So I'm very happy about that.
How has CHTV changed over the years you taught the class?
CHTV has changed a lot in the 4 years. I remember our first shows. My first year was literally 2 students sitting at the desk reading the daily announcements. We didn't do story packages really, or if we did, sometimes they would be 6 minutes long for seemingly no reason. So I think we've definitely tightened up our product. It actually looks like a real news show now. It has a beginning, middle, and end. It has packages, it has stand-ups, it has VOSOTs. So I just think we're really, you know, we now have a product that we can be proud of on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. And so prior to 2020, I noticed that not a lot of the CHTV newscasts were uploaded to YouTube. Why was this?
Well, just as I said before, a lot of stuff wasn't done because we didn't know how to do it, or people weren't trained to do it, or it wasn't captured in the right way. In the first year, 2 years, we had so many equipment issues. I think out of like maybe 10 football games we tried to air the first 2 years, maybe 2 got on air. So again, it's just figuring out all of this equipment, all of this crazy stuff that's all over. How do we do it? How do we record on YouTube? Because we didn't even know how to do that at first. Yeah. It was, we recorded on our Nexus system and then, you know, so a lot of things have changed. We couldn't do live streaming. So like just figuring out stuff is why a lot of it didn't exist before.
How long do you plan to stay with CHTV?
I plan to stay with CHTV until I retire. I changed careers once in my life, and I think that was enough. So yeah, I'll be here until the bitter end.
What are your goals for CHTV in the future?
My goals for CHTV would be to have a wider variety of programming that we're actually putting out. We do have students that perform other things right now, but we haven't really found a good way to like showcase that or get it out to people. So, you know, in 5 years, I would love it if we had a really robust website that had different, areas where you could go for like cooking help or stuff about clubs or classes. So finding a way to kind of take all that we do and organize it really nicely and get it out to people, I think is our next kind of big step.
And where do you see CHTV in the future, like 10, 20 years down the line?
Oof. In 20 years, maybe we've got like hoverboards. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm really hoping that our sports department can gel together a little bit better to kind of rival what we have in WHJE. I know that we've had students on and off over the years who have been really interested in sports broadcasting. So I definitely see that kind of coming together. I definitely see a time when our equipment and our technology coordinates better with our students, and we have a better control and handle on that technology and how it supports the curriculum. We've had a lot of battles with that, older equipment and just different things. So that's going to happen within the next few years here, and then probably even some facility changes that will help us to improve. Mrs. O will have been here, 5, then 10 years. And again, with that continuity, with her direction and her knowledge and the great way that she works with kids, I just only see it improving.
I would love to see CHTV run really as a real newsroom. Like, we're getting so close, but to have specialized videographers that are going out and getting news and not waiting for it, not reacting to it, but gathering it and making stories happen instead of reacting to them. So I would love for us to be able to be news makers and gatherers and not just relaying the information, regurgitating the announcements and the stuff we get, but creating it ourselves.
Is there any memory that you have from like being the department head with like CHTV in particular that really stands out?
Well, I'd say most recently, the fact that we got to take CHTV students to New York was really great, because this is our first time that CHTV got to go. And I really love that trip because it's an opportunity for me to get to know the students. I've been going with WHJE for several years now, so I was really happy that CHTV students got to come this time.
Yeah.
And I got to know CHTV students a little bit better.
And what was it like being a part of CHTV?
Oh, it was so much fun. It was so much fun. I mean, what was great about Mr. Espey is he would teach us a lot between editing, how to light things properly, how to, wide, medium, close up, the basics of using a camera and things like that. But then he would kind of give us free range to kind of do what we needed to do and then grade it after that. So we would make our sports show. We would interview other athletes. We'd end up interviewing each other since half of us on the show were athletes at the time. And just be able to have some creative oversight. I remember one time we did a kind of a look live with Mark Galloway, who was the head basketball coach at the time, where he was down in the locker room and I was up in the studio. We were kind of pretending to do this live shot before we had a big game coming up.
Yeah.
And Mr. Espey was just very supportive of just letting us kind of make the mistakes early and then think about this next time, think about that next time, or this is great, but what if you did that?
So when you were a part of CHTV, what was it like, and how has it changed, the studio and stuff, since you were a part of it?
Well, to be honest with you, we walked through the wrong door coming in, so we thought it was a little further down. But once we got here, things started clicking. I remember the radio hallway. There wasn't a lot of traffic back in the day. I mean, if you were in this hallway or in the TV, you were here because you were in class or doing some extra stuff. But yeah, it definitely brought back some memories. We had 2 studios at the time. One was a black and white cameras only studio with switchers, and we had a color studio. And it was a good time, and it definitely brought back some memories, don't you think?
Yeah, I feel like it's way more professional than what we were. I mean, we basically had cameras that were there. We could, every once in a while, you run out into the school and try to do an interview or whatever with a camera. I didn't really know. Now you guys are all shooting with cameras. You got professional editing that's similar to what we use. And then even the people that come out of Ball State, you could hire them, and they might be rough around the edges, but they could work beside us. The technology, I think, has allowed that.
And what was it like to be a part of CHTV during your time in the program?
The best thing ever. I would not be where I am today without it. And I like I still love that program so much, and I still talk about it all the time. And like I tell all my friends about it. I'm like, look, this is what I did in high school. I forced my boyfriend to watch all the Jacob Tries episodes one night with Jacob here.
That's awesome.
And yeah, that program, it just really like helped me determine what I wanted to do. And so that way, once I got to Ball State, I was able to go kind of in jobs close to CHTV, which then got me to sports.
If you two could redo your time at CHTV, would you change anything?
Absolutely not. No. I got out a lot. I put in probably not as much as I got out of it, but I wouldn't change a thing. And like I say, it definitely was a positive experience for me, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met a lot of great people, and Mr. Espey was awesome looking back. I wish I would have been nicer to him. You know, I mean, or just maybe soaked it in more. I didn't do a lot of the stuff that you did. I came in every day and I participated, but he's talking about, you know, volunteering and doing some stuff and entering stuff in like some of the competitions. I didn't care about that stuff back then, but I would try and get more out of it than I did. Maybe be a little more, forward thinking.
Yeah.
So for my last question, if you could redo your time at CHTV, would you change anything?
Nope, not one bit. I mean, obviously, you'd love to have more equipment, more resources, more cameras, more buy-in from, some students here and there. But at the end of it, you learn to grind, you learn to work with what you had in the moment. You got to make the mistakes in the moment. You got to try new things without being judged for it or having your grade docked for it. And it's a time I look back fondly on, and I know, I'm still best friends with a lot of guys from my class, and they'll all say the same thing. It was one of those really fun times to be at Carmel High School, to be in CHTV, to have Mr. Espey as our teacher, and just kind of keep going from there. I think I'm the only one left still in television from our CHTV days, but I know we all took away something great from it.
If you could redo your time at CHTV, would you change anything?
Yes.
What would you change?
Well, oddly enough, I wouldn't work so much. By work, I mean I was here a lot, and all those evening events, etc. So I was it's funny. If you're an artist, you're a musician, and you play a lot, whatever, they say you're passionate. But if you sell real estate or something, or insurance, they say you're a workaholic. So there's this kind of, people who are in the arts kind of get a pass on not being overzealous. But anyway, I loved it so much. I was here, all hours of the day and night working. And so I probably neglected my family some and didn't really have a good work-life balance. And, so if I did anything different, it was certainly to try and balance my personal life with my work life a little bit better, because you're not good if things don't work out so well when you're always working so much.
And for my final question, I'll give you a moment to think about this, but is there anything else that you would like to add?
Go Hounds.
I will say that CHTV did definitely carve my path for my future. I mean, I got the bug immediately being here with Mr. Espey, got excited about it, and I haven't been out of the business ever since I graduated high school.
I mean, what an advantage it is to go to a school like this that actually has what you guys have now. Even I don't even know how many schools have this program. I know a lot of the big schools do, but imagine being one of two schools basically. The other one was a small school in the middle of nowhere. Just imagine being the only school in this whole metro market, to have something like this. Did not understand it at the time, but it was awesome to have that opportunity.
As looking back, being an old person like Jamie and I are, I can tell you appreciate what you're doing. You're doing these things, and I'm sure you see these fellow students around you just kind of bare bones. You always get what you put into it. You get out what and obviously you are gonna succeed, and just keep plugging away, and you'll be successful. I can guarantee it.
I wish I would have recorded some shows.
Yeah.
I would just say that I think CHTV is in good hands for the future. The students we have are so interested in making it bigger and better for future generations. And that starts with our current freshmen are already looking ahead to when I leave, this is what I want to do. So I just think that the students are running this show, so to speak. And I think they are going to be, what changes it and what makes it grow and get bigger and better.
I'm just so proud and humbled to be a part of CHTV and this entire department, the Greyhound Media Network. I'm its, leader, if you will, and I just am always amazed at what you kids can do. And I look forward to every day that I come in, and the next thing like this documentary is just a prime example of that. Just seeing what ideas that kids come up with and where they go and what they do with it all. I would definitely say that. And then I love that our programs are so old. And I hope old is not a bad word, but there's such tradition here. So we're coming up to a time in our history, if you will, of some pretty significant markers. So I think yearbook is going to be 110 or something like that. Yeah, we're coming up to over 100 years old or something. And then all of the other programs as well, obviously, are coming up to significant markers. You guys are coming up to
45 this year, or next school year.
And then radio, I believe, will be 50, almost 60. And then highlight too, I want to say is in the 80s or 90s. It's been a long, long time, such history, and you guys are all part of that legacy. And as you know, things are changing in this field, the field of journalism, but it's only improving, I think. And I think it's more critical than ever, because journalism at its heart, at its best, is truth-telling. And we came from a time period when there were Walter Cronkites in the world, where we depended on those people to tell us the truth about what was happening. And I don't know if we'll ever get another Walter Cronkite, but I sure hope that we continue to have those really strong character people in our lives who do provide us truth in journalism. A lot of journalists go on to write books. We have a lot of those books in the library. Journalists make phenomenal authors because they turn that issue and that problem every which way. So again, when I see all of that entire picture, I think this is the most exciting program in the whole school.
was one of your favorite memories from CHTV?
Volunteer to go shoot extracurricular things like the spring sing or the winters, and I remember a buddy of mine who worked the radio, George Barutis. He and I came in late to go shoot the spring or the winter concert, and we're in the auditorium, and the camera wasn't working, the gear wasn't working, we're messing up. I'm trying to figure it out. He didn't care because he was radio, and I have this project, and I turn around, and there's George all dressed up because they kept all the wardrobe. He's trying on different outfits. I never laughed so hard. Needless to say, we didn't get anything done, and the concert didn't get recorded, but I think I got in trouble from Hal on that one.
I've heard that story before. I mean, we used to always get in trouble. There was always somebody screwing around. Now, I think in the meantime, everybody learned a lot, but it was a fun, kind of a crazy way to learn about TV back then.
Yeah.
It was not, I don't think, near as, I don't know how classroom oriented it is now.
Yeah.
They spent a lot of time keeping us from doing things we weren't supposed to do, I think, back then.
What was one of your favorite memories from CHTV?
Somebody hid a inappropriate picture inside the lighting grid. So Mr. Espey he always turned the lights on during his studio, and so when he opened the lighting grid, there was that picture, and he shut it real fast. And
we played a lot of pranks.
There was a lot of pranks on Mr. Espey, and I'm sure it drove him crazy. But I think he was like 25 years old when he was our teacher, maybe even younger. So he was 5 years older than we are.
Yeah.
At the time. So that's one of my best memories that I still have.
Yeah.